Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my site softer?
Can I make my site firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. Enjoy personalized comfort for better sleep night after night. And now, max out your savings. The more you buy, the more you save on beds, bases, and more. Plus, get free home delivery on any smart bed with base. Limited time. Check it out at a Sleep Number store near you or at sleepnumber.com today.
Skip the gym, not the workout. With Hydro, you get a full-body workout in just 20 minutes, hitting 86% of your muscles in one smooth, low-impact motion. And now there's the new Hydro Arc, Hydro's most advanced rower yet. Arc introduces Hydrometrics, tracking your power, endurance, and precision every time you row, so you can actually see your progress. Go to hydro.com and use code ROW to get $100 off any Hydro rower, including Arc. That's HYDROW.com, code ROW.
I'm Bryony Gordon, and this is Sober Awkward.
The kettle's boiled, Vic.
Great. Perfect timing. Just a dash of milk for me, please, mate.
Here you go. Shall we get started then?
Have you ever woken up on a Sunday morning and said, I'm never drinking again, and then found yourself waving $50 at a barman by happy hour?
Are you wondering why everyone else can stop at 1 while you head to a dodgy after-party with a weird bloke called Disco Dave? If so, it might be time to take a deeper look at your relationship with your reliable social crutch, alcohol.
On each episode, we'll investigate our own dysfunctional dealings with booze and find out if it's possible to stop this deeply ingrained habit before things get too messy.
Yep, we're going to open up a shame shed of humiliating drinking stories to help you understand why waking up from a booze coma each weekend with a kebab sticking out of your top pocket might actually be negatively impacting your health.
Hamish and I are here to delve into what it's like being sober, an unwanted warts and all look into why giving up those cheeky pints or putting down those mummy wines will make you feel happier, help your anxiety and mental health, and turn you into the most sparkly, authentic version of you.
Won't that mean I become boring though, Vic?
Well, Hamish, we'll just have to wait and see. I'm Victoria Vanstone.
I'm Hamish Adams-Cairns.
And this is Sober Awkward.
Bryony Gordon is a Sunday Times best-selling author, a podcaster, a marathon runner, a mum, a wife, a mental health advocate, the creator of Mental Health Mates, and since August 27th, 2017, has been sober. Of course, none of that paints the full picture. Bryony's true power comes through her ability to communicate in a way that people relate to, often shining a light on the toughest parts of her life and writing with the honesty and humour that we always try and approach on our own podcast. I'm sure I'm not the only person that finishes her books with the overwhelming feeling of Bryony just gets it. So thank you and welcome to the Sober Awkward podcast, Bryony Gordon.
What a lovely welcome.
Not at all. You've earned it, Bryony.
Lovely intro. I'm terrible at intros when I record my podcast. I never do the intros while the guest is in the room because I don't know what it's like. It's like I get embarrassed.
I've considered doing both. And I thought, actually, it's nice to say nice things to people at the start of a conversation. Why not?
You're absolutely right. Anyway, it's lovely to be here.
It sets the scene, you know. Now I can just be really mean to you for the rest of the interview because I've done all my compliments right at the start. So, yeah, whenever we're lucky enough to have a guest, I go pretty deep in the weeds, right? I've been reading your books. I've been listening to your podcast. I've been listening to you on other podcasts, YouTube interviews. I've basically gone full into the life of Bryony, your joke, not mine. And it's been a lot of fun. At times, it has been a little bit heartbreaking. And I always like to begin by sort of trying to look for clues in the childhood. That seems to be most people I interview is, all right, there were clues in the childhood. And you described your childhood as being pretty normal, except for in your head.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it was normal, except for in your head. I'm just going to run through a few things that I have found that happened in your childhood.
Okay.
When you're 12, you're diagnosed with an extreme form of OCD called pure O. So that's when you suffer from intrusive thoughts like thinking you had AIDS or that you were a serial killing paedophile. Yeah. You had a few breakdowns. You had a boyfriend that left bruises on you. You had bulimia and alopecia. None of that sounds all of that normal, Bryony. When you look back at it, is it?
I guess that was my head again. Do you know what I mean? Like, I suppose when I say normal, I mean like the upbringing. So the kind of, I suppose, what we would call the material things. Do you know what I mean? Like a nice house. I suppose, I don't know how old you are, but I'm going to be 45 in a couple of weeks. And definitely when I was growing up, there was this notion that mental health issues or mental illness had to be caused by something terrible happening in your life. And there was no kind of understanding of small t trauma or, the stuff we pass down through the generations. So I guess when I wrote Mad Girl, which was like 10 years ago now, and I wrote about the OCD that I experienced from childhood, I guess what I was kind of trying to say was that, like, there was no obvious reasons that I would experience obsessive compulsive disorder or all those other things that I went on to experience in my life. I had a very middle class upbringing in West London. It was like a Volvo, a dog, a cat, some fish. I went to private school. I had everything that you would think would lead to a happy life. But of course, as we know, that isn't how the world works, And I suppose as I've got more sober, I've realised that probably I did normalise quite a lot of dysfunction. And I think we all do, we all normalise the dysfunctional bits of our families because that's all we know.
Particularly Brits. Oh yeah, it was pretty normal, except these 3 awful things that happened to me. Like that is so classically British middle class, I guess, isn't it, in particular?
Yeah, and I think the things that that is no like, oh, my parents were really bad parents. They weren't, they aren't. They're loving, funny, wonderful people whom I love very much. They themselves were taught certain ways to live and be, and by people who they themselves were taught, and so on and so on and so on and so on and so on. So I feel like OCD for me was a kind of, I realized the older I get and the more sober I get, the more I do realize that actually it was not normal, and it is not normal to feel that full of terror the whole time. It was, almost delusional, almost, not psychosis, but almost psychosis. And I feel a lot of, like, even just talking about it now, I feel a lot of empathy. I feel really sad for that girl growing up in West London who thought that she was dying or thought that she had hurt someone and blanked it out in horror. And it's quite powerful now because I still, at the age of almost 45, find myself in states where my brain can be so convincing in how awful it is and the things it tells me that I do find myself in periods where I believe it, and people have to say, Bryony, this bears no resemblance to reality. What you think is true. It's all kind of constant almost, my brain telling me how awful I am. That sounds terrible, doesn't it?
No, I think everyone's got that to an extent. I think you just probably had a quite extreme version of it.
Yeah.
Your description of OCD makes a lot of sense to me. You say it's your brain refusing to acknowledge what your eyes can see. Yes. And I know you've spoken a lot about this subject and you've written a book on it. But I guess what I'm most interested in is, how did having that form of OCD so young affect your perception of yourself as a child?
I just thought I was a freak. I thought I was a freak. I thought I was other. It's interesting. I don't know, like, people are sober for different reasons and people stay sober in different ways. But and perhaps we'll get onto this later, but I'm very much a 12-stepper, like, not a 12-stepper, that sounds like a culty, but I go to meetings, I do AA and that kind of thing. And, and just so I can listen to other people like me. And the thing I always hear is that sense that when they were children, they felt other, they felt different. And alcohol sort of not returned them to feeling normal, but it, for the first time in their lives, made them feel like they could fit in with other people. And that, I guess, is true of me. Yeah, I just felt like fundamentally wrong at a deep level.
It's interesting. I think that loneliness seems to be at the core of so many people's drinking. Whether or not it's I literally feel other, or if I drink, I'll be in the gang. This is what the cool kids do. I know there was I think it was a Carson McCullers quote that meant a lot to you from a Jarvis Cocker documentary that said, everyone is a part of we except me. So many people that are over drinkers be like, yep, that's me.
Yeah, and that's what drinking does for us. And that's why drinking is such, alcohol is such a powerful drug, it's why it's like it's legalized, it's available everywhere, it's because it makes people feel convivial and wonderful. And this is going to sound really weird and perhaps I don't know, not controversial. It's not controversial, it's just what I think. But I'm really grateful to alcohol in a way, because without it, I would not have been able to leave the fucking house. Do you know what I mean? I would never have, and it's taken me quite a long time to into sobriety, like nearly 8 years in, to realize that alcohol wasn't the problem. It obviously led to me doing quite problematic things eventually. Do you know what I mean? But it was, as a lot of us say, the solution, to the problem of myself and the way I felt. And you take that away and that doesn't go, you've just got to find another way to live. And I remember the first few times I tried to get sober, I don't know if this resonates with you in any way or anyone listening, but I definitely was like, I don't understand. I stopped drinking. Why do I feel worse?
Yes.
My head was suddenly like, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I genuinely thought that the alcohol was what was causing my head to be like, blah, 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 blah. But of course, and it was to a certain degree, but that my head was already blah, 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 blah. And that is my shorthand for my head, long before I ever picked up a drink.
Well, I think so many people resonate. The idea of voice in my head goes blah, 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 blah. I drink and it shuts up till tomorrow. That is why people drink fundamentally. And typically, like you say, it works for a few years until it doesn't. How long did it effectively, convincingly shut up the voices until it needed to be addressed?
I mean, the reality is, Hamish, I don't think it... it wasn't working from the beginning. Like, for the very first time I drank, I drank too much, ended up vomiting all over my shoes. I was 14.
Yeah.
But still, despite all of that, I was like, that feeling it gave me initially, I'm going to do that again next weekend. So I guess I drank from the age of 14 until the age of 37. And that was when, hopefully, touch wood, I'm not going to touch my head because that's a horrible thing to say to myself. But anyway, I don't even need to touch anything. Desperately
looking for wood in her house right now. Darting eyes.
I'm a very well person, Hamish. And I definitely hopefully that was when I had my last drink. Do you know what I mean? So it's probably the most significant relationship I've had in my life. Certainly the longest. And it was there forever through everything. But it was, from the very beginning, it was problematic, but not as problematic as the thoughts in my head.
Are we talking about more than just the OCD? I mean, what was the sort of tapestry that was connecting the booze, the drugs, the eating disorders, the mental health issues? Did it all come back to OCD, or was there something else at play here?
I don't know. I think probably just that no sense of self or self-esteem, I think that's the kind of fundamental thing, and no sort of design for living, as we often say, in recovery. So I didn't really know how to be a grown up. I was muddling along, and I guess that's the same for all of us. But everything just has always, I suppose, in my life, everything has always felt very, I was going to say heavy, but that's not even true, because like the good things feel really good and the heavy things feel really heavy, so it's like, but I've always always found it very difficult to like detach from my head or my thoughts, and sort of go into a more peaceful place. Yeah. I don't know if there was the common thread from bulimia, OCD, depression, drinking, drugs. It was me. But, also, I think when I first started talking about this stuff, I always felt like such a freak. And now I'm really open about it. And it's not that unusual. It's like, I'm not normalizing it or saying it's okay, but it is it's far more common than we think, So all of the things that I've experienced are just like, there's nothing new. Do you know what I mean? I'm not actually special or different or other, I'm just a person who has a brain that is just a bit different. Do you know what I mean? To the neurotypical way of thinking of brains, and arguably not that different.
Well, something that I did find unusual about your story is that most drinkers are people pleasers, and we drink in order to turn up a version of ourselves, to be more charismatic and more energetic and more talkative and sexier and more attractive to whoever we're trying to chat up. You describe yourself as a little bit different. Rather than feeling like you weren't enough, you said you felt like you were a bit too much. How does that feeling play into drinking?
Yeah, but does that, I think too much and not enough are like both two sides of the same coin. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
And I'm definitely a people pleaser. I mean, actually, I would say the thing at the root of all of my mental health problems has been people pleasing. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something I still have to really tackle now. In fact, I've just written a novel about it. Anyway, that's by the by. So too much. Yeah, I guess I just always felt like I couldn't contain anything. I felt, like I can't, some people are kind of mousy and quiet and they're mysterious, and there's never been any mystery to me, Hamish.
Yeah.
I'm like, I feel something, I say it. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, or something happens and I have to share it with someone, I'm a very kind of like, I find it, my borders are quite porous, if that makes sense.
Whatever that disease is, I have that big time as well. I recently came back to work. It was the first day back after like a month off because I had a baby. And my wife did mainly the baby thing. And thank you. And I had a new boss, and it was the first meeting, 9:00, big team meeting. And he was like, how's a month with pat leave been? And my head was going, don't tell the story about you pissing yourself in a cinema. But then I was like, my brain has thought that, now my mouth follows. So I told my new boss, it was like 9:02 that I pissed myself in a cinema. Like there was urine in the cinema and it wasn't my baby's. And I'm like, damn.
But I feel like I imagine everyone listening, including myself now, wants to hear this story too.
Oh, I'll tell the story. I'll happily tell the story. So my daughter did an accident, right, in the pram. Yep. And I thought we're watching Bridget Jones's, the new one. And I thought, I'll be the good guy. I'll do this nappy. So I take her to the loo.
Is it like a protest wee? Did she not like the film?
Well, it was the end of the film. So I almost feel like she held it right to the end out of respect. And so I thought, I'll do this nappy. So I take her to the loo. Inevitably and irritatingly, men's loos, no baby changing station. So I'm like, this is going to be one that I'm going to have to do on the loo seat. But before I do it, because it'll be a few minutes, I'm going to take a pee myself. So I'm a male sit-down peer, and I pull down my pants, I pull down my trousers, and I have her on my lap, and I begin to pee. And the pee goes outways. I see it shooting through the gap of the loo seat and the loo, and my privates are in such an angle in this awkward sitting position with her on my lap that I'm not pointing down to give you the full image. So it's gone shooting out, and it's basically gone. I thought I'd cleared the pants and the trousers around my ankles, but then when I stood up, it became very evident that I had middled the pants and trousers. And then I I did the nappy, and I came out. I was like, do I tell my wife? There are moments where sometimes white lies are best. And she was like, hey, we need to go to the supermarket. We've got to do like a whole round of groceries before we get home. And I just had to be like, I'm sorry, I pissed myself. I could blame the baby, but she was only like 2 weeks old. I was like, I have peed all over my pants and trousers. We need to go home. Can you take off your jumper so I can wear that as a kind of sarong and walk back to the car? And that was the story.
And what did your boss make of this story?
He was a parent, so I sort of looked at him with the eyes of, you can probably relate to this. And the stare that I got back was just no, I've got my shit together. Like, it's been a while since I pissed myself, even though I think he's got 3 kids. Yeah.
Yeah, he's probably got like lots of help, hasn't he?
Yeah. I mean, I tell you what, he hasn't promoted me. Let's say that. So yeah.
Well, it's only-
I very much feel you. And I was conscious of the fact that like the cool kids and the ones that everyone was drawn to and the girls liked were the ones that basically said nothing. They smoked cigarettes and they said nothing. and girls loved them. And I was like, I need to be that. And I wasn't good at drinking, and I didn't really like cigarettes, and I'm incapable of being cool or not saying the first thing that comes to my mind. So yeah, I understand your affliction with people pleasing.
But obviously, like things that we think aren't cool, when we're at school or whatever. I see it now with my daughter who's just gone to secondary school, and I kind of want to say to her, oh, but I promise you when you're older these things will be seen as cool. But of course you've got to go through it all yourself, haven't you?
Yeah.
You can't, no one can tell you it. Well,
particularly a mum. You're the last person she wants to hear what's cool and what's not from,
Oh my God,
you can't be cool, you're mum.
No, she thinks I'm absolutely mortifying. But I mean, that's okay because I like run marathons in my pants and stuff.
Well, I'm glad you bring that up, Bryony. We've got some of the most bizarre similarities in our life. I'll just run through some of the highlights.
I watched your live. I want to know more about this.
Okay, good. This is quickly becoming you interviewing me, which was not the purpose of today's conversation. So I know you're open about the fact you're in Clapham. I was in Clapham. Basically, all my life I've lived in Clapham. I was Clapham South till I was 7 and then been Streatham Hill ever since.
Really?
I moved here.
Where in Clapham South?
Yeah. Englewood Road.
Oh, right. Really close to where I am right now.
There we go. And then in the book you mentioned going to Salisbury to see your in-laws. Both my grandparents are Salisbury. Well, they were Salisbury. My parents moved to Salisbury next month. We're constantly in Salisbury.
Whereabouts?
Well, my granny was in the Close. She lived in a National Trust house. And my parents literally last month sold the house in Streatham and bought a house in Salisbury. So they are moving just outside of the Close. They want to be in the Close because they are very middle class. But they are moving to just outside the Close. They're doing some works, but they move in by Christmas, basically. But yeah, they love Salisbury, all about Salisbury. Wow. So we go to Salisbury. Then your daughter is Edie. My goddaughter is Edie, one of the most important women in my life is another Edie. And then the marathon thing. Okay, so I've never met anyone who also does marathons in barely legal amounts of clothes. And I, since 2015, have been doing marathons in mankinis. So I've done full marathons.
You're way ahead of me. Like, I doff my cap if I was wearing one.
We're both doing this in the nude, we should say. Actually. Yeah. We're very on brand. But I know. That's why I started doing it. And then I saw that you do it. I was like, oh my God, a woman of my own heart. And I think we sort of do it for similar reasons as well. I think we do it in similar and different reasons. I think we both agree we want to normalise all body shapes and sizes. Yeah. But also, mine is based two things. Firstly, I worked as a comedian, and there's no lazier way to make people laugh than run past them in a mankini. It's like a million laughs in doing very little. And secondly, I have a theory that we are always at our happiest when we are naked, because we are either sleeping with someone, or we are bathing, or we are streaking, or we are sleeping in the nude. I'm always happy doing any of those things. So getting naked and doing a marathon, it just feeds the theory that you can only be happy doing that.
Yeah, I definitely feel happier naked, but I think for a lot of women that isn't like it feels excruciating. So I guess that is the reason I do it is so I hope that other people will feel happier when they're naked. You know,
yes.
I find as few clothes as possible when I'm running. Like people have to put some like right now I'm about to go out. I'll go out for a run in a bit, and I've got shorts on and a top. But people that happily I'd just be out in my pants.
Did you ever do a training run in just the underwear?
Yes, I did.
Yes.
Just before the first marathon I did, sorry, it was not the first marathon I did, but the first marathon I did in my pants. I did it with a friend, and we kind of wanted to know how it would feel to run long distances. Because we're a bit larger and, chafing, but also, because it's a bit like we just needed to know what it would feel like on the day. So we went to Ibiza. It was just an excuse to go to Ibiza, really. We ran 15 miles in our pants. And, people always say to me, oh my God, the chafing. But if you get some good Body Glide, Mega Babe, whatever the chafing thing is, it's absolutely fine. I do find when I did the London Marathon a month ago or whatever, like it was quite hot for London. Okay. There was like huge crowds at the London Marathon, and I was having to like reapply chafing stuff as I went, but be a bit apologetic. But it's such a wonderful, I just really enjoy it. I love it. I love seeing people, the reaction's always lovely.
I mean, Body Glide is, obviously, Mankini Marathons, I use a lot of Body Glide. There haven't been many moments in my life where I've felt less attractive than the first Mankini Marathon I did was in Barcelona. And obviously, you got to go up like 4 in the morning to do marathons, right? And I can remember I basically had one leg up on the bed. My girlfriend at the time was half asleep, one leg up on the bed. And Body Glide is sort of like Pritt stick, right? So you've got to roll up the bottom and then roll it on yourself. So I had one leg up on the bed and I'm Pritt sticking effectively my gooch with Body Glide as she woke up. And she was like, this is an angle no amount of love is okay with, She was like, this is a bit. I've never done the reapply mid-run. So do you have friends meet me at mile 18 with Body Glide, or did you carry it in your bikini?
Well, obviously, no. There's nowhere to carry the stuff. So,
yes.
And I probably take a lot longer to do a marathon than you do, Hamish. I'm just going to. So I need a lot of gels because I'm out there for like 5.5, 6 hours. And then, my friend ran with me and she had like everything in a vest, like a pack horse.
Yeah. Well, we could talk about this all day. I'm quite happy to talk about marathons, but I will get back on subject. So it's often difficult to accept that we have a problem or an addiction when we are, by all definitions, a success in the eyes of society. So 2014, you wrote The Wrong Knickers, or you released it. Mad Girl came a couple of years later. And they were hits, right? You were celebrated for talking so openly about mental health. You interview Prince Harry about his... On paper, your career is exploding. But I know you've written at that exact time you were struggling with some of the darkest times of your life with addiction. So how did you cope with like the irony or the contradiction of those two things happening simultaneously?
Well, I didn't really, but also I now I am able to look back on it. I think that they're not that unusual. I think it's we have this idea of like the park bench drunk, having to lose everything, and actually for me, alcohol and drugs were also like a method of self-sabotage. So the more successful I became, the more I had to punish myself in a way, I can see that now. So it makes sense that the kind of this really incredibly successful bit of my career coincided with my rock bottom, and just I'm grateful that I was able to, because I'd met people who were sober, and I literally just had like the good fortune when I had my daughter 12 years ago. I met this other mum who'd also got a child the same, like antenatal, whatever. We became very good friends, was still best friends, and her other half, he was sober, but he used to drink a lot, and I was like, you used to drink all the time and now you don't drink at all. And I was like, I kept meeting, and then he introduced me to someone else who was sober. And I was like collecting these people like Pokemon cards, I didn't realize that was what I was doing, but that was what I was doing. So when the time came where I was like, I'm fucked, I had a little set of Pokemon that I could go to who would help me, who were like, this is what you should do. So I was really lucky to have that structure around me, and I know that lots of people don't have any idea. Like, I mean, it's much better now than it was, like even just, 8 years ago, like there was like one non-alcoholic gin or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like it wasn't the big thing. Instagram wasn't this huge, wasn't this huge sober movement on Instagram. So, but I think people still struggle to find where to go or who to talk to when they find themselves in these holes, And so I feel quite lucky that I had that sort of structure around me who could take me to 12-step meetings, suggest people to go and see. So I actually, now I think about it, it makes perfect sense that the success happened at the same time as the rock bottom.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my site softer?
Can I make my site firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. Enjoy personalized comfort for better sleep night after night. And now, max out your savings. The more you buy, the more you save on beds, bases, and more. Plus, get free home delivery on any smart bed with base. Limited time. Check it out at a Sleep Number store near you or at sleepnumber.com today.
Skip the gym, not the workout. With Hydro, you get a full-body workout in just 20 minutes, hitting 86% of your muscles in one smooth, low-impact motion. And now there's the new Hydro Arc, Hydro's most advanced rower yet. Arc introduces Hydrometrics, tracking your power, endurance, and precision every time you row, so you can actually see your progress. Go to hydro.com and use code ROW to get $100 off any Hydro rower, including Arc. That's HYDROW.com, code ROW.
Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of our listeners, Bryony, are mums, and pregnancy is that first period of their life since they were teenagers. They have this extended period of sobriety, and they have this expectation that becoming a parent, I'm speaking of dads too, I suppose, becoming a parent is going to kickstart their sobriety. They had a problem and now I'm a parent and there's consequences and I have a child to look after. It will all sort itself out. And then inevitably the stresses and the boredom and everything that comes with being a parent hits home. And you write that within 2 weeks of your daughter's birth, you had this over-consuming thought of wanting to get drunk. How did becoming a parent affect your drinking? You know, did it ramp up? Did it change its form?
It didn't change. That was the terrifying thing. It was exactly the same. And I genuinely, I mean, it didn't even occur, like, I didn't even think when I was pregnant, when I have the baby, it just didn't occur to me that like I would do anything other than drink normally. I was like, now I've got this in place and I'm married and I've got a baby and I've got a flat in Clapham and I've got a bugaboo. I'll have like I'll have like a glass of red wine once a week or something, like it just didn't fucking occur to me that I had a problem really, or that that it was going to stick around. And I don't know if anyone feels this, but it was such a shock. It was such a profound shock when, as soon as I was well enough post-birth, I just picked up exactly where I left off. And I was like, what the fuck? I have this tiny, beautiful thing. I have everything I ever wanted. And still I'm a fuck up. And still, even for this thing, I can't stop drinking. I'm a fucking terrible person. I am a terrible person. And I really had to bury that shame very deep down inside me under layers of justification, because as well, like I was like, I'm not drinking in the morning. I'm not drinking every day. I'm drinking, every other day. And I always am drinking to blackout, but like my husband's there, or, and it was like, it was just, just the things I would tell myself, like, happy mum, happy baby. As if sitting in the garden every night and drinking yourself into oblivion is a sign of happiness, It was still, when I look back on it, it makes me feel huge shame, but we have to get to the knowledge the way we have to get to it, and there's my daughter was 4 when I got sober. She's 12 now, and I don't sit down and quiz her and go, do you remember me drunk? Because that's not great parenting. But I don't think she has any like obvious memories of me drinking, because I was always very much like, I waited until she went to bed. You know what I mean? Like I thought I had all these rules about drinking, which made me think I was in control, when in actual fact, it meant the drinking was in control of me. But absolutely, my drinking in those first 4 years will 100% have affected her in some traumatic way, because there might have been times when she was crying and I didn't hear it because I was blacked out. I have no pride in this, but what I can say is that it happened, and it does happen, right? It happens a lot. And either we want parents to be able to get better for their children as well, because we know I'm an alcoholic, and we know that alcoholism is something that is, it gets passed down through the generations. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, so either we want this to kind of stop and we want to recover from it, or we want to kind of keep it under clothes, under wraps and not talk about it and pretend it doesn't exist, and that all people that it does exist for are terrible humans, because it's like we're not, like I am not a terrible person. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm a pretty normal human being today, give or take a few things. But like I'm a good parent. I'm taking my daughter to Beyonce tonight. We have and that isn't a sign of good parenting at all. But like I know every morning when I wake up, I'm showing up properly for her, and I can put her needs before mine.
How does she look at alcohol as a 12-year-old, having grown up with a sober mum for almost all of her life?
Oh, I mean, I probably shouldn't speak for her because that's not right. But she says it's different. Generation now are different, aren't they? I mean, she's like, I'm never going to drink. Drinking is for losers. We shall see.
Yeah, we'll see. Give it a couple of years.
I kind of do believe there are two types of people. There are people who can handle their drink and there are people that can't. And I definitely can't, and I don't know how much we fall into the, I don't know how much of it is at the end of the day. I can wang on about my family history and all of the things in my childhood that shaped me. But like, the fact is, I can't drink. That's all that matters, really. We don't need to analyze why that's the case, because if I start getting into the weeds of it and going, yeah, but maybe if I resolve this trauma, then I could drink. I always remember interviewing Gabor Mate, right? The amazing doctor who has done so much work in addiction. And I remember him saying to me, you're not just an addict, you're lots of many different things, and addiction is a trauma-based illness. And I said, okay, well then, if I dealt with all my trauma, would I be able to drink again? And his response was, well, why would you want to?
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, that's good. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, I don't need it. I don't need to get into the weeds of it. I'm not answering your question at all here.
But honestly, tangents are my favourite response. So feel free to pull on any of those threads. See, my favourite line in Glorious Rock Bottom is, the truth hurts, but it also heals. It's the only way out of the nightmare of addiction. I like that so much I had to stop my bicycle and write that line down, so I remember to say it today. But yeah, as a society, we're, I think, a bit too obsessed with the idea that you need to reach a rock bottom before you give up booze and drugs. Until you reach the rock bottom, basically carry on. But the moment that seemed to change it for you was a text that you got from your husband, which you described as the worst and most important moment of your life. For those of us that don't know what that text or the context was, what happened on that day?
Well, I was supposed to be going to Salisbury. We were supposed to be going
for a party, I imagine, knowing Salisbury.
My in-laws, and I'd gone out and hadn't come back. That's the truth. I'd gone out and hadn't come back, and so we couldn't go. And I can't remember the wording of the text exactly because it was a long time ago. There's a lot of that stuff in the book. I'm like, oh,
I know.
It makes me feel like that. But it was what did it say exactly? I'm trying to.
It was something along the lines of like, all of us are worried about you now.
Yeah, this is not cool, Bryony. And so but it was really interesting because I don't know about you, but like that night out, like, was it any worse than any of the other nights I've had before? Probably not. I probably had much more dangerous, nights. But it was like, I don't know. I just like reached a point where I was like, if I don't stop drinking, I'm going to die. I'm either going to die by like choking on my own vomit, or I'm going to die by by choosing to kind of take my own life, or almost worst of all, I'm going to die by like continuing to live in this like Groundhog Day existence. It was like, I can't do this anymore. And, there is a moment, and as you say, you don't have to wait for the absolute bottom. But I was also very aware that every time I tried to stop drinking, I knew that if I picked up a drink, the only thing that would get me back into sobriety or to flirting with sobriety would have to be something worse than the time before, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Wasn't sure if I was willing to find out what the next worst thing was. I was like, I don't know if I have I don't know how many more drinks I have inside me. I can see myself sitting on the edge of my bed upstairs and just being like, I can't do this. But I didn't know how I was not going to do it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I didn't want to carry on drinking, but I also didn't want to stop. It was such a frightening thing. But it's so interesting. Like, I couldn't imagine a life without alcohol. But now I can't imagine one with it. Genuinely, I never think about. It doesn't even cross my mind now, and that is batshit crazy. Like, I think about smoking all the time. Do you know what I mean? But you know, alcohol, that kind of mood altering, absolutely not. No, thank you. Does not appeal because I know where it goes. Me. It's not goes to fucking oblivion and I lose control and I'm gone.
The rehab facility that you ended up in fascinated me because I didn't know that it existed in the form that it does. You know, I think when you talk about rehab, you assume, okay, so we need to go away and it might be a few weeks and then we can come back and we'll be fixed. And for any parent listening, where they go, well, obviously I can't do that because I can't leave the kids and I've got a job and like I can't go away for weeks. And then I read about the rehab that you went to, which was just in the evenings, and you could fit it around your work life and around your family. How did you even come across that? Did you know that was a thing? Am I just being naive, or were you conscious of these?
So I didn't know about these. So it was what I think they call secondary rehab. So primary is where you go and you're locked down. And then secondary, it can be used either by people coming out of primary rehab who need to be kind of eased back into normal living. But yeah, it also had this, they called it an evening program. I mean, it was tough and it was intense and it was hard. And actually I ended up really I ended up saying to work, I need to get better. Do you know what I mean? And you know, so then I would just spend my days going to AA meetings and throwing myself into recovery. And then in the evening, I'd do this evening program. I guess it was like a, you know, an evening course, but where it's like save your life.
Yeah.
Save your life. But yeah. So I did that for 3 months and it was amazing. We couldn't afford to go to a primary rehab. And again, I didn't need to detox because I was like a binge drinker. Some people do need to go into facilities, you know, it's literally life or death. And I'm very grateful to it. It was called Start to Stop in London. And I think there's a few versions of it, but it just it helped me. Yeah, it helped me get to it. And, you know, and I'm still friends with like some of the people that I was in there with. Yeah, in fact, my best friend in recovery who has the same sobriety date as me.
Yes, I was going to talk about her.
She is, she now works in a rehab. So
cool.
She's retrained. So there's like, I just love all the kind of, I love being sober. I love recovery. Like after this, I'm going to run. I probably shouldn't, like, this is all anonymity stuff, but I'm going to run to a meeting, you know.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was going to speak about Holly because, so you meet her at rehab. She shares a sober anniversary with you. And I feel like everyone that goes sober suddenly then creates this new group of friends, people that you may never have met before, that your paths would never have crossed. And like you said, even when you were drinking, you were beginning to collect sober friends like Pokemon cards. What role has having that sober community played in your sobriety?
So important, you know, but like even to the point that, you know, it's so interesting because obviously I still have friends from when I was drinking, but those friends are like, they don't drink in the way that I used to drink, you know? So like my bestest friend, Laura, she got married and had kids and she stopped drinking, you know, like that was, so all of my friends they're not big drinkers. Do you know what I mean? So they're either sober, they're either part of the sober community, or they're people who aren't really interested in alcohol, you know? So I think it's so crucial. I remember one of the first times I tried to get sober, I was like, everyone carry on as normal. We can still go to pubs. We can still, do you know what I mean? Because I was like, you don't have to change for me. But, the fact was, I can go to a pub now, but I don't want to. I don't want to go for an evening out with people that are binge drinking. Like, that is not my idea of fun. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
So my friends are people who, it's like batshit to say, like hobbies and interests. Do you know what I mean? Like 25-year-old me is like, what the fuck are you talking about? Do you know what I mean? But like, we go for runs or we go out and talk about books, or I just sounds completely batshit. But so I think a sober community is really important. There's always that saying, isn't there? I remember someone saying to me when I first got sober, someone said to me, listen, Bryony, just stay out of wet places. Just stay out of wet places, because it's like if you go to a hairdresser enough times, you're going to end up getting a haircut,
Yeah.
If we had like a really toxic ex, we wouldn't continuously go to the place where the toxic ex was. Do you know what I mean? Like, stay away from it. Well, I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't because I'm an alcoholic, but so it's the same principle. I cannot stand. I don't like being out after 6 p.m. if I can help it. Like I'm very much a home girl. If I'm going to socialize, we're going to do it in the day. And sometimes I went to the theatre last week with Holly, and I was like, God, we're so grown up. We're going to the theatre.
I'm with you. I went to the theatre because it was a matinee and I could go on my lunch break the other day, and I was like, this is it. I'm still home at 5:30. This is inventive thinking.
Well, yeah, actually, we went to see, it's a great play in London, if anyone's listening, called The Fifth Step. And it has, so even the play we went to see was about sobriety. And it had Martin Freeman in it and Jack Loudon. But anyway, it knew its audience. It was quick. It was an hour and a half and it was done by 9. I was like, this is the kind of thing I want.
This is it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we should talk about running, because it's come up a few times, and it has been this sort of incredible new hobby gift that you seem to have found in sobriety. And you're someone that went from having never ever run to doing a marathon in 6 months. You've written a book about it called Eat, Drink, Run, How I Got Fit Without Going Too Mad. How did running play a part in your sobriety? Where did this gift appear from?
Well, it appeared from the Royals, actually, weirdly. So they had this mental health charity called Heads Together that in 2016. I was invited to the launch of because I'd been writing about OCD. And it was the official charity of the 2017 London Marathon. And I somehow ended up, I was introduced to the then Duchess of Cambridge, now Princess of Wales. And I can't remember how we got talking about it, but I was like, are you going to run the marathon then? And she was like, oh, I can't run a marathon. I can't really, because you can't secure, 26.2 miles. And I was like, well, if I could do a marathon, anyone can. And I was like, I don't know why I just said that. Like, I'm not doing a marathon. And someone said, are you going to do the marathon for us then? And that was it. And so but that definitely, doing that, training for that first marathon, I didn't stop drinking. I thought maybe I would stop drinking, but I didn't. And that showed me how much of power alcohol had over me. But it also showed me that there was this different way to live my life, where my body could show me the things it could do each week. I started to see this different way of living. And I got sober a few months after that first marathon. And I just love it. I just feel like quite free doing it. I don't go fast. I don't do it for the way it makes me look. I do it for the way it makes me feel, and that's really crucial to me. So really for my mental health and my, sobriety, like exercise, I think is as important to me as like having a program.
Now, there are some listeners that will listen to this and they'll go, fuck off. I'm never a runner. I've never been a runner. That's not who I am. But they might be open to going for a walk, right? Yeah. And so I want you to tell us about Mental Health Mates, because this is a way that they could still do some exercise without identifying as a runner.
Oh, yeah. So Mental Health Mates. Well, I set that up 10 years ago. as a way for people to get out and about in their own communities and go for a walk with other people with mental health issues, walk and talk without fear of judgment, really. So mental health mates are all over the UK, but you can set one up wherever you are. And we have a sort of pack that helps you. We give you all the resources to do it. So you can create your own little communities where you live. And it's about movement for mental health, which is so crucial. Do you know what I mean? And it was just something I needed. I started it before I got sober, and I realized I was looking for that kind of community, you know. Yeah. So, and that was how I got to running, you know, like, again, starting with walking, you know, again, it's like, I think if you identify as an alcoholic or an addict, we tend to want everything like now, you know, like, woo, woo, woo. And actually what I've learned is like, just trust the process, trust the timing, and start one foot in front of the other. But maybe running isn't for you, maybe something else is, you know, like it doesn't have to be that one. Just do what makes you happy, that isn't picking up a drink.
Well, I just want to finish, Bryony, by saying an enormous thank you. Thank you for being a guest on the podcast. Thank you for the books you've written and for speaking the way you do about not just addiction, but OCD and mental health at large. But I think the biggest thank you I want to say is for the humour you bring to this subject, because it's such a serious topic, but it doesn't need to be always spoken about with seriousness. There's plenty of humour and comedy to be found in it. And I think part of the magic of what you do is sharing it with plenty of humour and comedy. So thank you for that, and for the lives that you've touched as a result of it. You really are the perfect guest for us. That is our message through and through, is let's try and make this fun and approach people that way. And so you've been on our hit list of ideal guests for a while. So thank you so much for giving us an hour of your time today.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for doing this podcast. It's really brilliant to be able to reach out to people and let people know that there's a load of us out there who are awkwardly sober.
If you're questioning your relationship with booze, you're struggling to moderate, or your hangovers are causing anxiety, it might be time to reach out for some support.
Yeah, just talk to a mate about how you're feeling, contact a local doctor, find an AA or sobriety group. Vic's got one.
Yeah, just head to www.cuppa.community.
Remember, if you're questioning yourself, it might be time to seek support.
Even though this journey can be awkward, it is definitely worth it. And if you've enjoyed the Sober Awkward podcast, don't forget to review it, rate it, and share it with your mates.
Do they have to share it with their mates?
Yeah, of course they do. I'm not doing this for nothing, Hamish. Bloody hell.
How do they share it?
I don't know, just write it on the document.
Skip the gym, not the workout. With Hydro, you get a full-body workout in just 20 minutes, hitting 86% of your muscles in one smooth, low-impact motion. And now there's the new Hydro Arc, Hydro's most advanced rower yet. Arc introduces Hydrometrics, tracking your power, endurance, and precision every time you row, so you can actually see your progress. Go to hydro.com and use code ROW to get $100 off any Hydro rower, including Arc. That's HYDROW.com, code ROW.
Parles-tu français?
¿Hablas español?
Parli italiano?
If you've used Babbel, you would. Babbel's conversation-based technique teaches you useful words and phrases to get you speaking quickly about the things you actually talk about in the real world. With lessons handcrafted by over 200 language experts and voiced by real native speakers, Babbel is like having a private tutor in your pocket. Start speaking with Babbel today. Get up to 55% off your Babbel subscription right now at babbel.com/acast. Spelled BABBEL.com/acast. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Hey, it's Mark Marin from WTF here to let you know that this podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. And I'm sure the reason you're listening to this podcast right now is because you chose it. Well, choose Progressive's Name Your Price tool, and you could find insurance options that fit your budget, so you can pick the best one for your situation. Who doesn't like choice? Try it at Progressive.com. And now, some legal info. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
So, as you probably know, my comedy memoir, 1,000 Wasted Sundays, is officially out. All my magnificent fuck-uppery in one awkward hit. If you'd like to get your hands on a copy, it's now available from all good bookstores.
We always say all good bookstores, don't we?
Yeah.
Are there bad bookstores?
No, it's probably ones with moody sellers.
Oh yeah, really depressed librarian folk.
Yes,
okay, good.
So there are probably some, but we're only storing it in the good ones.
It's only made it into the goodies.
You can also get it from all good online retailers. The print version and ebook are out now, and the audiobook will be available in March. I've been writing my memoir for 5 years. It will make you laugh, cry and cringe, and hopefully inspire a few people to reconsider their relationship with booze. If you love the podcast, then I think you'll love the book, even if I do say so myself. Hamish has read it. What did you think?
I feel like I know a little bit too much about you now, to be honest, Vic. Look, I really loved it. It was hilarious and surprisingly moving, but I feel like I've seen you naked in a literary sense.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's worrying.
Yeah. From an emotional point of view, seriously, it wobbled my teeny weeny wooden heart, Vic.
Okay.
My teeny little wooden heart.
Well, his wooden heart is broken. Anyway, so if you do manage to get your filthy mitts on a copy, please do me a favour and head to goodreads.com and give me a review. Doing that will help me get it out there to those that need a bit of sober support. So there you have it. My story, unwanted warts and all. Come and get awkward with me.
Not to be too demanding or anything, but seriously, go and buy it now.
Yeah, go and buy it right now.
Yeah, don't just tell your friends, buy it, and then buy your friends one or two.
Yeah, don't give them a copy, buy it. Yeah.
And you know what? Don't be careful where you store it. If you lose it, you can always buy another 5.
Buy another one.
Yeah.